What's up, guys? It's Chad with Living the Van Life, and right now I am up here in the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. Up here where currently it is about 20 degrees, and this is my first outing out here for the winter time of 2022-2023 winter season. In fact, I brought out the old Vanagon to have a little bit of a winter adventure. But in this video, what I wanted to do is sit down and have a conversation with you guys of all the different heat sources that I have used in the vans over the years and how I choose to stay warm for my winter adventures when I get out here living some van life. So let's sit down, talk about some heat sources and how to stay warm while living some van life in the wintertime. So here we are. This is my 1991 Volkswagen Westfalia. Matter of fact, this was the van that I started my van life journey 12 years ago. Hey, what's up? It's Thursday, November 10th, 2011. Just thought I'd throw up a video here on YouTube and share with you guys what living in a van's all about. Now, jumping into van life for the first time ever in the middle of February up here in the Pacific Northwest, that was one thing that I had to figure out very quickly, was how to stay warm while living van life. Since it's a cold night out, it's getting to be winter time. Important part of living the van life is keeping warm. I feel like I've come up with a pretty good method of dealing with the cold weather in the winter and making life comfortable living in the van. What's up, guys? It's Chad up here in Washington. It's January, just a few weeks into the new year. Thanks to the Mr. Buddy heater. Helps us through these cold winter events that we got going on right now. She's on high. It's definitely comfortable. Matter of fact, I think it's one of the most important things that anyone considering van life needs to think about and needs to figure out how they're going to do. And anybody that's out there living van life right now will vouch for that tremendously. When you're living in a tiny space, on wheels that you can go anywhere, your climates are going to fluctuate here and there, and finding a good, reliable, comfortable, safe, and clean heat source is absolutely important, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. Now let's talk about some of the more popular van life heat sources that there are out there right now, and that is the Mr. Heaters. Now there's a couple different options for the Mr. Heaters. There's the Little Buddy heater, and then there's also the Big Buddy heater. Now, back in 2011, when I started living in my van in February up here, I jumped in and grabbed a Little Buddy heater. That runs off of a 1 pound propane bottle. It puts out a very nice, comfortable heat. However, it doesn't last through the night off of one propane bottle. From there, I upgraded to the Big Buddy heater, which allows 2 of the 1 pound green bottles to be ran simultaneously. At that point, the heater would run all the way through the night. This is the Mr. Heater brand. This particular model is the Big Buddy heater. It'll also run off of the 1 pound bottle of propane. It's got 2, so it hides inside this compartment, which I pulled this one out. And there's also another one on this side, so if you have to run off of the 1 pound bottles, you've got it and you're completely portable. But it just still wasn't practical to be running a heat source off of propane bottles. It's just not good for the environment, and it's a lot of cost. Now here on the Volkswagen Westfalia camper vans, there actually is a propane tank that is installed here inside these vans. And so with the Big Buddy heater, that does have a quick connect system that actually allows you to tap into an outside propane source. That is a quick connect fitting right there. So I was able to do some plumbing here on the Westfalia and get my Big Buddy heater tapped into the onboard propane tank. This is just a hose that runs across the floor of my van. Inside the cabinet, I have it teed into the existing propane system of the Westfalia. I bought a T and a valve so that I can shut it off when I'm not using it, and just plumbed into the existing system. This will keep it in bikini weather when it's 15 degrees outside the van. So here I am with the original Buddy heater as well as Trucker. He's peeking over my shoulder here. But this is the original heater that I started with in van life some 12 years ago in the middle of February. Now when I found this heat source, this thing was a lifesaver, and it definitely got me through some very cold winter nights. However, I quickly found that just running it off of one propane bottle was significantly insufficient. So that's when I upgraded to the Big Buddy heater system. Now this one has the option of running off of 2 propane bottles, one on this side one on this side, and like I mentioned before, that it also has the quick connect system, which is great. This also has the 2 burners here, so it actually has an extra high heat, and it puts out up to like 18,000 BTUs. So that was nice, and this I used in my van for years. Now, one of the great things about both of these heaters is that they are a completely standalone heat system. As long as you've got propane, whether it's in the bottles or the quick connect, you've got a running and operating heat source. There's no electricity involved, there's no plumbing involved, etc. So very nice and portable, all in one unit right here. Now, I will mention one of the challenges with having even an onboard propane system is that finding a source to actually refill those tanks is a little bit of a challenge. Typically, it's an RV store that doesn't have very late hours. It's also a hardware store that doesn't have very late hours. So if you find yourself passing through a town in the middle of the night and needing propane, it's a little bit of a challenge to find something that you can fill 24 hours a day. That's one of the bonuses of having a diesel heater, is that diesel is on darn near every corner at a gas station, ready to go 24 hours a day. But all in all, these Buddy heaters got me through a lot of years here in van life. Now, that was quite efficient for me for a number of years, and they got me through a lot of winter expeditions and adventures in the old Vanagon here. But one of the biggest cons that I found about the Mr. Heaters is being an open flame and being propane, it actually does emit a lot of moisture into the air. Now, up here in the Pacific Northwest, there is already a lot of moisture in the air, and that combined with the propane heat source, I started having a lot of problems with condensation, and it's just not a good thing while living van life. And so at that point, that's when I decided it was time to start looking for another heat source. With all of the winter camping videos that I do here on the channel, I had a lot of comments coming through about people suggesting that I consider a diesel heater to be installed here in my Volkswagen Vanagon. It sounded like a really cool idea. The thing that I kept scratching my head on was the fact that my Volkswagen was a gasoline powered machine. So how was I going to power any sort of diesel heater? Well, with a little bit of research, I actually found out that a lot of these diesel heaters come with an auxiliary tank that you can install in the vehicle, on the vehicle, around the vehicle. So at that point I was like, wow, this actually could be a viable thing for here in the Volkswagen. What's up, guys? It's Chad with Living the Van Life up here in Washington. In this video, I'm going to take you through the process of what I did to install a Chinese diesel heater into my 1991 Volkswagen Westfalia camper van. Hi, buddy. Yeah, it's a good pup. So one of the most attractive aspects of this diesel heater system is the fact that it is only $150 and it's available on Amazon. Now, years ago when I even considered this diesel heater, I looked at the price tag, $150, and I'm like, well, how good could it be? But also, at $150, if everything were to go wrong with it, you're only out $150. Now, compared to some of the other brands of diesel heaters that are available on the market, we're talking anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. Now, back when I started my van life, I was scraping together pennies just to get by, and I didn't have that kind of budget to put a heat system like that in the Vanagon. So I figured, heck, what can go wrong? Let's spend the $150 and get it here. Lo and behold, here we are 3 years later, and the diesel heater in the Vanagon is still clicking away without skipping a beat. Matter of fact, when it came to installing a heat source here in the Sprinter van, I had a much bigger budget, but I figured, heck, if it's not broken, why fix it? And so I went ahead and spent another $150 for one here in the Sprinter van. Matter of fact, that's what got me all the way up to the Arctic Ocean here in the Sprinter van in the middle of winter time, where I saw temperatures as far as -40 degrees, and inside the van it was a nice comfortable 65 to 70 degrees. The fact is, it just works, and it's proven itself to me over the years in both the Vanagon and the Sprinter van. So if you guys are looking for a good solid heat source on an affordable budget, definitely got to check this out, and I'll put a link in the description down below. What, buddy? Are you ready to go? I know it's cold out here. You should be going and sitting by the heater, because the heater's over here cranking away, keeping the van warm. And it keeps trucker warm, definitely, for sure. Oh, buddy. Ah, nice and warm. Nice and warm. Yes, yes. So let me just take a second and show you how these diesel heaters work and why they are the perfect heat source for use inside your van life. This is the side that the heater is going to draw air from the atmosphere inside your living space. It's going to pull that air across this chamber here, and then it's going to expel nice, clean, dry heat out of this side, and that's what's going to heat your living space. Now, if we pull this end cap off of here, we're gonna see more of how this thing works inside. The top pops off. Down underneath, this is the side that's going to be mounted to the floor of your vehicle, where you see 3 ports here. Now, these 2 big ports, one is the air intake that is going to be pulling air from outside of your van. This little red nipple right here is the fuel intake. There is an electric pump that comes with this system, and that's going to pump fuel into this port that's going to go into this heat chamber, and together with a glow plug, it's going to ignite the fuel, and it's going to burn very similar to like what an engine does. Now over here, this port is going to be your diesel exhaust, and that's where all the nasty, dirty, gross fumes are going to be expelled through the floor of your van, and it's going to run through an exhaust pipe out to a safe area where it's expelled away from the van, keeping you nice and safe inside the van from any dangerous fumes. Now this whole heat chamber heats up. This electric fan draws air in here. It moves the air across this heat chamber and expels that dry heat out into your van. So overall, it's actually a very simple system, and it's easy to maintain. There are parts available. This is it. One compact unit to heat your whole entire van space. Pretty damn cool if you ask me. So I think one of my favorite perks that I experienced right off the bat when I made the switch from the Mr. Heater over to the diesel heater is the fact that I can leave my diesel heater running long term. Whereas with the Mr. Heater, because it was an open flame and it's emitting moisture into the air, it wasn't something that I wanted to run inside the van for more than an hour or 2. It certainly wasn't anything that I would leave on through the night while I was sleeping, and definitely if I ever left the van, the heat was always turned off. But with the diesel heater, now it's more like you would treat your house in the wintertime, where you set a temperature and you let the heater maintain that temperature throughout the day while you're at work, or in my case, when I'm out shooting. In the wintertime season, now with the diesel heater, my van is always nice and warm. My fixtures inside the van don't experience the crazy fluctuations in temperatures. When I sleep at night, the heater is always on. When I was up in the Arctic in the Sprinter van, I slept through the night with the heater on, and it was a nice comfortable 65 to 70 degrees inside the van, while it was a extremely cold -40 degrees outside the van. So all in all, the diesel heater just makes for a much more comfortable experience while living in your van in the wintertime season. And it's much, much safer than having an open flame inside your small, compact living space. So at this point, I'm going to talk about the different components that come included in these kits when you order them from Amazon. Now, I'm also going to include an Amazon link to the kits that I've used here inside my vans, the Vanagon here, the Sprinter van, and also kits that I've helped other friends install in their van. Now, this is an Amazon affiliate link that is provided down below, which means if you do make a purchase off of that link, then that does give a kickback, and that goes to help support the channel, so thank you very much for that. Now, first off, obviously it's going to come with the diesel heater unit itself. It's also going to come with the fuel pump that's needed to get the fuel from the tank to the heater. It's also going to come with the control unit that mounts inside your van, and this allows you to control the heater. You can change all your settings, how hot it's going to be, etc. Now, it's also going to come with all of the wiring and the harnesses that it needs to communicate between the controller, the fuel pump, and the heater. It's going to come with the fuel line that it needs to go between the tank, the pump, and the heat unit itself. It's also going to come with the heat ducting and the cool little swivel vent that you need to get your nice warm heat out to your living space. Also included is going to be the exhaust pipe that you need to get your hot, nasty diesel fumes out of your heat unit and out away from your van where it's nice and safe. Also with that exhaust pipe is this handy dandy little muffler. I highly recommend using this muffler because it significantly reduces the amount of noise coming from the exhaust of the heater. Also included in most of the kits that I've seen on Amazon are these auxiliary fuel tanks. Now, these are great if you've got a gas-powered vehicle and no source of diesel on board, then you can install this on, underneath, on top of, around, behind, inside your vehicle. And this particular one is a 10-liter tank. Here inside the Volkswagen, I've got a 15-liter, so just check the kit that you're buying. It'll have either one of the two, but these are great for mounting on a vehicle that doesn't have a diesel source. Other than that, there are a few other various components used for installing this heater that are included in most of these packages. The great thing about these heaters is the fact that they pretty much come with just about everything you need to get up and going, plug and play once you get your installation done, which is very, very nice. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to have questions about efficiency and consumption when it comes to these diesel heaters, so I'm going to take this opportunity to share with you my experiences that I've had with using these diesel heaters over the last several years. Now, when it comes to living on the road in a vehicle in a small, compact space, saving money, etc., that's what van life is all about. Having a heat source that is efficient both on power and fuel is important, especially when it comes to wintertime when we're going to be out on the adventures for sometimes weeks at a time. And that's what makes these heaters so great for use here in van life. And I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the numbers that I have found over the years of using these heaters. First off, let's talk about fuel consumption. Now, with these heaters right here on this controller, basically you're adjusting the pump volume up or down. So as you turn the pump volume up, it's going to pump more fuel into the combustion chamber, therefore creating more heat for you. If you turn the pump volume down, then it's going to reduce the rate of fuel consumption and give you less heat. Now, here in the Vanagon, I've been out in temperatures of -7 degrees Fahrenheit out in Wyoming. Now, because it was -7 degrees out, I had the heater running on high 24 hours a day for a week and a half to 2 weeks. And during my stay out there in the Vanagon, I was using a rate of about 15 liters per 24 hours. That is on high. Now, of course, when I'm away from the vehicle, or perhaps it's not as cold as -7 degrees, then I can turn the pump volume down and I can just run at an idle to where it's just pumping a little bit of heat out to help maintain the temperature inside the van. And when the heater is running on idle, it seems that a 15-liter tank will run anywhere from 5 to 7 days, which is pretty impressive for a heat source that is going to keep you nice and dry and warm in the wintertime. Next up, we're going to talk about power consumption. This diesel heater unit indeed does require a 12-volt power source. Now, one of the biggest questions that I get is, do I need an auxiliary battery system in order to run this? And my answer to them is yes. I highly recommend running your heater system off of an auxiliary battery system, which means you leave your starter battery completely separate and dedicated to only starting your vehicle. The last thing you want to worry about is running your heater too long and running the risk of running your starter battery dead and leaving you completely stranded. So here in the Vanagon for auxiliary batteries, I've got 200 amp hours of Battle Born lithium batteries that are installed here, and that'll run my heater for days on end without having to recharge. And over in the Sprinter van, I've got 600 amp hours of Battle Born lithium batteries that is responsible for running all of my 12-volt items inside the van, and that includes the diesel heater system. That was extremely important for me when I went up into the Arctic where it was -40 degrees Fahrenheit, and I was reliant on that battery system and I was reliant on that heater system. Those were the two items that kept me alive as I made the trek to the Arctic Ocean and back. So absolutely, yes, I highly recommend running your diesel heater off of any sort of auxiliary battery system and just leave your starter battery dedicated to starting the vehicle. So now let's talk some numbers of power consumption. Now, when the heater is running at level 5, which means it's putting out the most amount of heat, that means that the diesel pump is running at its highest rate, and also the fan is blowing at its highest RPM. And at that level, the system's going to consume about 3.5 amps of power. In other words, it's about 42 watts. Now, when you turn the heater all the way down to low, which is about 1.2 on the controller, then at that point you are drawing about 0.8 amps, or in other words, about 11 watts. So all in all, this system really uses a minimal amount of power consumption. Now, one thing to note about that is during the initial startup of this diesel heater system, the glow plug does kick in and there is going to be a significant amp draw, usually about 9 to 10 amps worth of draw, but that only lasts for a few minutes during the initial startup, and then after that it goes back down to the typical amperage draw. But really, all in all, it consumes very minimal amount of electricity, which is great for these off-grid vehicles. I hope that this video has brought some insight of perhaps how you can find some more comfort while living in your van during some extremely cold winter temperatures. While living in a van is a great way to be able to become a snowbird and go south when it is wintertime and north when it's summertime, not all of us actually have that luxury, and some of us need to be up here where it is cold. And just maybe some of us enjoy coming out here and doing some winter camping. Nonetheless, a diesel heater has been my favorite source of heat while living in my vans for the last 12 years now. It's been my favorite by far, and like I said, it is the best $150 that I have ever spent in anything van life. So, like I said, check out the link in the description down below, and that'll be a link to the diesel heaters that I like to use here inside my vans when I'm out here doing these winter adventures. If I left anything out of this video and you guys have any more questions, please leave a comment in the comment section down below and I will do my best to answer them. With that being said, I'm gonna get out of here and hit the road in search of the next Living the Van Life adventure. I thank you all for stopping by to check out this video, and I hope to see you next time. If you're not already a subscriber in the channel, make sure and hit the subscribe button. If you do hit that subscribe button, make sure and hit the little bell next to the subscribe button, because that's gonna notify you anytime videos like this are uploaded. All right, guys, peace out. Keep on trucking.